Greetings, my dear travelers. That time has come again for the season to be over. We can't thank you guys enough for supporting us through this season. We love making this show, and we hope you love listening to it. We would be sorely remiss if we didn't thank a few of our patrons for supporting us through this season and beyond. Faithful travelers just like Tina, Really, Ty Estapi, Najee P, Delta Tango, Stephanie Taylor, Matthew R. Taylor, Cheyenne Taylor, Hakmet, Tyler, Lainey Bug, Sarah Zartaloma, D.H. Parrish, Alexander Hickey, Adam McDaniel, Byron Verling, and a special shout out to Mortis Maledictum and Maltopia. This episode was so much fun to write, and I am super excited for our featured guest. Without further ado, please enjoy Season 5 finale, and we'll see you next time, travelers. This podcast contains adult content and themes. For a full list of our content warnings, please see our show notes. Listener discretion is advised.
When your fears have taken their toll, when the demons have got up control, when the shadows just won't leave you alone, I'll be there. When your rainbows have turned into black, when the sun has turned its back, when all of your power let itself dry, I'll be
Welcome, my dear traveler, to the Morbid Forest. Ooh, I am beat, my eight-legged fiend. Yes, but the reward is just. But this realm is due for some amendable upgrades. Or at least the boot store, so I can trade in these horrid pair. Have you seen these? They look like mummified cat. Curious? There shouldn't be any travelers in need tonight. Well. Look what the demon dragged in.
I'd say I'm surprised to see you here, but you didn't know how to keep your nose out of anyone's business when you were alive. So why would you in death?
I've missed you too, Ranger Thompson. I assume your spirit needs a little help making the journey to your prospective path. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
I can show myself the damn way. I knew about these parts long before you showed up with your tree plan and school spirit.
Oh, I knew you missed me.
Insufferable as always, I see. To answer your question, no, I don't need help. It's you who needs help.
Me? I think I'm doing just fine, thanks. You know, you didn't leave me with much. A fucking note and a book were all I had. The least you could have done was tell me some of this shit, Thompson. You let me walk in blind. Why didn't you at least tell me about—
Move aside, Harper. We shouldn't discuss these matters out in the open. We both know these forest inhabitants are less amicable at night. What the fuck is that?
That is Larry.
I thought you hated spiders.
I did. But things change.
So they do.
Oh, come on then. It will be nice to catch up. Larry is always asking about the other side, and this will give him another perspective. And you can give me all the information you have and couldn't pass on. Almost like a last interview. The sound of the station buzzes around me, like a kicked hornet's nest. Each officer within the hive, ready to strike. The chatter creases the center of my brow, the raised voices whittling their way under my skin. All the boys in blue are angry, and I can't blame them. However, the difference between an officer and a detective is simple. We focus on the why, while they focus on the redemption.
Can you believe that this twerp is involved in this mess?
I don't turn at my partner's voice. My eyes continue their rove over the man currently on our live feed. He leans against the interrogation room wall, head bowed and eyes closed. Was he sleeping? With him cleaned up and in borrowed OPD sweats, I'm starting to think we have the wrong guy. The guy looks like he should be in a basement talking about dragons and dwarves. He certainly doesn't look like the type to be discovered by police, covered tip to tail in blood. Has he asked for a lawyer yet? Harris hands me a mug of coffee, his wrinkled brow creasing at my question.
Fucker's reply was, "A lawyer will not be necessary at this time, but I thank you for the offer." Who the hell talks like that? This buddy has been playing too many of those elves and orcs games.
It's, Dungeons and Dragons.
What are you, an expert now, Becker?
No, just observant. Like you should be, old man.
These eyes have seen more than you'll ever comprehend. Don't think you're tough shit now that you've got a few years under your belt.
I finally turned to my partner, eyeing him with annoyance. John Harris, 25 years dedicated to the force. The man has a key to the city and has had more handshakes with the mayor than I ever will. But sometimes his radar doesn't always point due north. Tell me then, do you think this will be open and shut then?
Interview shouldn't take more than an hour. Boy will sing like a canary.
I hum in response, my eyes traveling back to the interrogation room monitor. The suspect hasn't moved, and something about it unsettles me. I shake my head, clearing it of caffeine and my odd thoughts. Look, if that's all you think it'll take, go home. I'm sure Barb would love a hand with the grandkids. I got this. Harris snorts, then downs the rest of his coffee and tosses the paper cup in the trash.
I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. You're a big girl, and I know you can handle yourself. But if you need me...
Yeah. I'll call if anything comes up. Get out of here. I got this.
I know you do. But keep your guard up just in case.
Harris pats my back awkwardly, making me smile. He was rough around the edges, but had a good heart. Besides, Barb will be grateful I sent him home to give her a hand. My mouth begins to water at the thought of the thank you cookies I was about to receive. I glance one more time at the live feed and jump. Cool eyes stare at the camera, making me shiver. The suspect leans forward, almost as if he's listening for something. His eyes never leave the camera. My legs itching to step back, but I'm frozen to the spot. I've come across my fair share of strange and deranged suspects. Detainees who've tried to fight me, spit on me, and called me every ugly name under the sun. I've conquered liars and filtered through a person's one bad mistake to find the decent human underneath. Never In all that time was I as unsettled as I am now. Slowly, the man relaxes back in his chair, a hot breath whooshing out of me at the loss in eye contact. He turns his focus on the door and stills. A frown, bending around the screen to figure out what caught his attention. An eerie thought worms its way into the base of my mind. Is he waiting for me? My heart stutters to a stop before jackhammering back to life when I enter interrogation room number 3. My suspect still faces the door, his light powder blue eyes so startling I almost mistake them for white. As I shut the door, I take a moment to center myself. Just get through this interview, book him, or cut him loose, and you can go home and polish off that Ben & Jerry's in the freezer. Good evening. I'm Detective Alyssa Becker. Do you need anything before we start?
A pleasure to finally meet you, Miss Becker. Kind of you to offer, but I'm fine for the moment.
An eyebrow quirks at his formal tone. I scan him again. He can't be more than 24, 27, max. I slide into the chair at the table, placing my recorder between us. We have the video recordings in all interrogation rooms, but I like to have the tapes as well. Easier to go back and review notes when I'm on a case. Are you okay with me recording your statement?
By all means, do what you deem necessary, Detective.
I smile tightly at him and press the red record button. My suspect already signed his rights waiver at the front desk. It was odd, but as John would say, I wasn't looking a gift horse in the mouth. This is Detective Alyssa Becker of the Oregon Police Department. The date is October 14th, 2023. Time is 11:02 p.m. Please state your name for the statement.
My name is Cornelius Buford.
Cornelius? Wow. That is quite an old name. Cornelius shrugs, the common and undoubted regular one.
I am an old soul of sorts.
Yes, I feel that way about myself as well. So, I know the sentiment well. Please state your address.
I currently reside at 1078 West Hampshire Road.
I nod. Having already reviewed his basic information, there was practically nothing on him. Never been booked, no social media, not even a parking ticket. Can you tell me the reason you were brought into the station tonight? Cornelius sighs as if my question is trivial. I say nothing more, my silence providing all the rope required to construct a noose.
Well, because you caught me literally red-handed.
Care to elaborate?
I can, or I can show you.
Show me. Walking me the scene of the crime isn't ideal. I'd have to get certain permissions, none of which are coming at this time of night. Cornelius chuckles, a sound both pleasant and alarming. A part of my brain is screaming something is wrong, but the cop in me refuses to leave the case open-ended.
I'm not a dog in need of a walk. Either you want to see my world or you don't. I am fine either way, although you are most alluring.
I pause at his choice of words, my eyebrows quirking in response to his strange mannerisms. His response was puzzling, along with the absence of fidgeting and shifting eyes. Most people in Cornelius's situation would display nervous tendencies, regardless of their innocence or guilt. For the first time in my career, I felt the cool trickle of apprehension while questioning someone. If I implied you were a dog, my apologies, Cornelius. I simply want to understand the details of tonight's events and your involvement. I'm sure you have better things to do than to talk to me all night. Cornelius laughs, the sound bouncing from corner to corner, lifting the hairs on my arm with each volley.
To be frank, Detective, I have all the time in the world.
Please, Alyssa is fine.
First name basis. We are moving quite fast, are we not?
We can move at whatever pace you desire, Cornelius. But I would prefer not to spend the night in the station.
Oh, understandable. Under other circumstances, I would not as well. However, the company supersedes the environment.
I have, but don't acknowledge the compliment. Plenty of suspects have flirted with me. Cornelius won't be the last. His flirty banter only makes me curious about his deflective nature. Cornelius?
Alyssa?
For the sake of time, let's stay on topic. I hate to be frank, but Ben and Jerry are waiting for me at home, and we have a standing appointment. Now, can you tell me why you were found at the Cedar Hill Blood Bank with a duffel bag of blood and no association with the establishment, covered in blood, and surrounded by 4 mutilated deputies?
Your persistence is admirable. I'll do you one better. Let me tell you about my vocation,
How does your job pertain to, let's see, 30 pints of blood found on your person today, or my butchered deputies?
We'll get there, don't you worry.
Fine. If he wanted to play games, we could play. I sat back in my chair, waving for him to continue.
My skills lie in acquisitions.
So, like an art dealer?
Not just art. I procure anything my clients ask of me. Art is a high commodity for many, but I have other clients who desire more unique fare.
My ears prick up at his choice of words. My mind buzzes with the possibility this case may be more than it seems. At its surface, it appears no more than a crazed man committing armed robbery and first-degree murder within a blood bank. I have to admit, I've booked weirder. But if this was more, if his dealing went into the human realm, my career could skyrocket to lieutenant by the end of this interview. I salivated at the opportunity. I enjoyed my work as a detective. My mind liked the constant push of solving cases, but I wanted more. Over the past year, I've jockeyed for a chance to prove myself. This was it. What qualifies as unique fare?
As I stated, I acquire unique pieces for my clients. Art, of course, but from time to time, like today, the requests are of the human-sourced variety.
Jackpot. And do you have the names of your clients?
I do not carry around an address book with a convenient list of clientele, Alyssa.
Then how do you reach them? How are clients identified?
I operate through a secure network with a team who verifies each identity. False portrayals are quickly eliminated from our database, and associated operations are notified of the deception. It's all quite above board.
My mouth attempted to fall to the floor. A full-scale operation like this had to be taken out with such finesse. I struggled against the weight of it. And someone contacted you to obtain human blood for them. Why?
Why indeed, Alyssa, why indeed?
I sat for a moment, puzzling over the facts. My mind was a wall of white, Sometimes, while on a case, I pictured a white room in my mind where I can lay out relative case information. However, there were no photos of accomplices, no list of potential motivations. The surface of my mind was as spotless as a newly cleaned countertop. I'm at a loss, Cornelius. For now, let's pivot and focus on the how. How did you manage to infiltrate the blood bank and nearly walk out with 2 duffel bags of blood? I had a suspicion this wasn't the first incident, but I wanted him to admit it. It would only help build my case.
I just used a little razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle? Are you a 1950s mob boss?
No, although I have met my fair share. To answer your question, I used a minute amount of glamour.
I stare at my suspect, at a complete loss for words. The growing smile on his face only adds to his maddening mannerisms. His mind hadn't just created some delusion for himself. It's all real to him, whatever it may be. I push back in my chair, setting my pen down on the table. If I'm going to get to the bottom of this, I have to stoke his fantasy world. And what type of glamour is that? Some form of magical spell?
Do you take me for one of those D&D lads? No, Alyssa, I don't cast spells based on dice rolls. I am a vampire, not a wizard.
It was my turn to laugh. A vampire? Okay. How old are you then?
It's in poor taste to ask a vampire their age.
Seriously?
No, but I enjoyed the look of faux pas panic on your face. I'm 553. Or is it 54? It's hard keeping track after 300. Birthdays aren't something we really celebrate, you know? Although some throw obnoxious parties.
And the blood, was it for your own personal stash?
I told you already, it was for a client. There are varying needs and desires within our little community. Some prefer it from the source, others desire a more purified version.
My brows tighten at his phrasing. My entire body leans forward in rapture as he slices me pieces of his world. I inhale them like a starving dog who then realizes there is a pill rolled up in their cheese. I shake myself, putting my officer face forward again. Why exactly is there a market for purified blood? What does that mean? Are these types of operations something we'll see escalated in our area?
It means I have a client who has a refined palate, nothing more than that. I have no idea of my client's future procurement plans. I don't run a Pinkberry, Alyssa. I don't give out stamp cards and a promotional newsletter. And as for the purified blood, let me see, how shall I put this? Think of your blood as varying cuts of steak, Sometimes one doesn't mind a bit of gristle with their steak, and there's no nutritional value, and a few people don't like the taste, but you bear it in order to get that perfect bite. However, for the right price, you can have Wagyu or filet, a pure specimen of marbled meat. Blood is similar. From the source, you get everything, including the fat. Do you know what is in those bags you kindly confiscated from me?
Blood.
Incorrect. They are filled with red blood cells.
Isn't that just blood?
Incorrect again. Your blood is composed of plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Whole blood collected by a blood bank separates and bags only the red blood cells. oxygen-laced little morsels for the highest bidder to devour. It is quite the revitalizing high to experience. As you are aware, I and my kind are dead. How funny to think we are both the exsanguinated and the sanguinators. The blood in our veins long since dried up, and in order to keep our bodies from deteriorating fully, we need to consume blood. Your precious red blood cells supply your body with oxygen. Oxygen, Alyssa, is life.
I stare at Cornelius, dumbstruck. My brain takes a full minute to process his words, and then I'm laughing. Bouts of howls stream from my lips, an ache traveling up my side from the force of stomach-convulsing laughter. Cornelius smiles at me. No teeth, though. Somehow, the sight of only his lips sends me over the edge again. I stand and pace the room, allowing my laughs to morph into giggling hiccups. When my composure returns, I turn to my suspect. My hands grip the back of my chair as I lean over toward him, no longer willing to undergo any more of this shared delusion. Cornelius, I think the time for games is over now. I'm tired. And while this was a fun little detour, I want to get to the meat of what really is going on. Now, who is it you're working for? Is it Carlos Mendoza? I know he has been having some health issues. If you're afraid of retaliation... The room lights flicker in time with Cornelius's booming laugh. My stomach undulates with discomfort at the sound. But the feeling is soon replaced by anger. Images of the crime scene pulse in my mind. Each frame is more gruesome than the next. I don't appreciate being laughed at. Nor do I appreciate your fanciful account of tonight's events. So cut the bullshit. Why were you stealing blood from a blood bank? And how 4 of my brothers in blue went in, but only you, covered in blood, came out?
Yes, let's cut the bullshit, as you say, Alyssa Amelie Becker.
A phantom hand travels across my stomach and squeezes. My throat tightens as I take a step back away from the table. Cornelius tracks my movement, his predatory pale blue eyes sending a tremor down my leg. How do you know my full name?
When you were 8 and you told your teacher about Carl Bowman cheating off your test, is that where it started? This need to put the bad people away?
Color drains from my face, leaching my warmth as it flees my extremities. How did he?
Oh, or was it simply because of your officer father, killed while on duty? Bad intelligence will get you every time. But you know better than that now, do you not? You would never eliminate the testimonial of a suspect or witness on the merit of sanity, present or lacking.
My throat begins to close, his words pinning me to the floor. This wasn't possible. He wasn't possible. Boogeymen don't exist. They were only men in stupid masks playing at being God. I don't know how you dug up my past information, but this interview is over. I'm booking you for the first-degree murder of 4 officers and 1 security officer, as well as charging you for trespassing and intent to distribute.
Intent to distribute? You think a judge will let that one stick? I don't think there is a precedent for selling blood.
I cross a small space, slapping my hand over my recorder. I don't give a fuck if there isn't a man in history who hasn't been booked prior for a nosebleed. I'm guaranteeing you'll be charged and locked up for the rest of your days. Or, undead days. I smirk at the quip, but the expression on my face doesn't last. Cornelius slaps his hand over mine, the edges of his mouth slowly rising. His lips are a dark red hue, reminding me of a stage curtain moments before the show is called. With an agonizing procession, they rise, inching up to reveal the stars of the show. Blinding white teeth peek from under the curtain of his lips. His dental hygiene is not the focus of my sudden dread. 2 perfectly pointed canines are slowly unsheathed from his mouth. Flight takes over my body, but his hold is too strong.
You know, I really do admire your tenacity. And for the sake of your own knowledge, let me walk you through the events of this evening.
With the punctuation of his words, my world falls into darkness. The cool fingers of the Pacific Northwest rustle my eyelids open. Did I leave the window cracked open last night? Was I dreaming?
No, Alyssa, you are not dreaming.
I jump, my hand going automatically to my hip. My palms slap against denim, my holster and Glock 22 missing in action.
Won't find your weapon here either.
What the hell is going on, Cornelius? How did you bring me here? My eyes dart around the empty street, attempting to discern where here was exactly. We're in a small parking lot next to a field. A security patrol car sits at the edge of the lot, sans and duty guard. An L-shaped brick building looms in front of me, silver letters protruding from its face, but I can't make out the words. The stars dim above me as another figure appears at the edge of the parking lot. The person is tall, their hands resting in their pockets as they casually walk up the drive. They don't have a care in the world. And they look an awful like Cornelius. What the fuck is going on?
Patience, Alyssa. I told you I'd walk you through tonight's events, didn't I? We need to start from the beginning in order to do so. Come along, things will begin to move quickly, and I want us to keep up.
Cornelius stands next to me, his hand outstretched as if he is a butler escorting me to my next event. My head swivels from approaching Cornelius to my Cornelius. Mine sees the question brewing on my lips and takes pity on me.
I told you I could show you the events which transpired this evening. It's part of my vampire abilities, mind sharing. Don't dwell on the semantics.
My hand. The words leave my lips dumbly as I cradle the limb to my chest. Did he drug me or something?
No, I didn't drug you. Physical contact is required to form the link. Come along, we won't be able to keep up soon.
Cornelius walks towards the building, giving me no other option but to follow him. My steps echo against the night, my body melting into officer mode before my mind. I follow close behind my Cornelius, but never take my eyes off the past version. The earlier evening's Cornelius looks the same, except for the exquisite suit he wears. He no longer looks like the pale nerd my partner and I pegged him to be. Instead, a strong, confident male glides up the short steps toward the front door. As we approach, the silver letters of the building are perfectly in view. BioLife Plasma Inc. shines down on us as we hustle past the threshold. There's nothing significant about the lobby of the blood bank. Stiff blue furniture sits in a haphazard L. Old magazines are thrown across chipped end tables. One of the overhead fluorescent lights flickers and hums erratically as we pass beneath it. My fingers trail up my thigh to my waist once again, the pads itching to make contact with the cool metal of my gun. That's still not there. Ahead of me, the Corneliuses stride toward the reception desk. A confused security guard rises from his perch behind the tall beige rectangle.
Clinic is closed, sir. Do you need the regular operating hours?
No. I actually required some assistance.
A crater opens in my stomach as the hairs on the back of my neck take flight in warning. Cornelius drops a duffel bag on the counter, the security guard closing the distance with curiosity. I push past my Cornelius, my detective brain wanting to see all the evidence from every angle. As I reach the pair, it seems as if someone hit the fast forward button at its highest setting. Something wet hits my face, the substance dripping into my eyes, making me flutter my lashes. I quickly swipe my face, my hands coming away stained red. What the I look up for the source of liquid, my legs falling back before my mind fully can register the scene. Past Cornelius's mouth is latched onto the security guard's neck, like a lion holding down prey. Twin rivulets of blood race along the side of the dying man's neck. His body convulses with death throes. My limbs lock, my heart cracking in my ribs as the visceral display plays out. Cornelius's eyes roll back in his head as he pulls the last of the security guard's life past his lips. The man's body seems to levitate for a breath before dropping like a stone against the cheap desk. His weight cracks the wood before he is deposited on the tile floor, the sound disengaging my shock. You're a fucking vampire!
A fact I already informed you about. Please try to keep up, Detective. It looks like I'm on the move again.
Both Corneliuses stroll down the dim hallway. I follow behind dumbly, my mind not handling the truth unfurling before my eyes. Through a haze, we walk into a storage lab, and past Cornelius gets to work. He moves at the languid speed of a Sunday grocery shopper, picking up blood bags and reading the name and blood type on the pint, as if reading the ingredients panel on a box of Frosted Flakes.
I do wish the bags were labeled more appropriately.
I snort, hysteria worming through my voice, sending my pitch sliding up the scale. Oh, and how would you like it labeled? Last 6 months of dietary history and genetic diseases?
Actually, that would prove rather helpful. The delectable amuse-bouche you keep tucked away in your wafer-thin veins has a menagerie of flavor complexities. Did you know even different blood types taste marginally different?
No, that isn't something I was aware of. Past Cornelius zips his bag closed, strutting through the exit like he just won a championship. We follow behind, the fog clearing in my brain. Wait. Cornelius, wait! Both men don't turn at my command. God damn it, I said wait!
Figured out what's next, Detective?
Unfortunately, I believe I have. My only question is why? What is your motivation in showing me all of this?
For survival.
We round a corner, the main lobby desk and the slumped form of the security guard coming into view. That was for survival?
Well, maybe not him, but the blood, yes. My species is dying, Alyssa. And while I can make do on art deals and other unique procurements, blood pays the bills. We're all slaves to the dollar, Alyssa. Even vampires.
But why take out my officers? Why let yourself be caught? I look at him then, scanning for any signs of contrition. However, I find only bleak numbness and a twinkle of crazed delight.
A man's gotta eat, Detective. Unfortunately, I let it go too far, and loose ends had to be tied up. I take pride in my accountability. It's why I have so many repeat customers.
He sighs, turning to me fully as red and blue lights filter in from the front.
Deputies file out, their voices sweeping into the lobby.
You, however, were quite the surprise. I haven't been this entertained in centuries. I am grateful for your company tonight.
Why do I get the sense there is a butt coming? The deputies enter the building now. They're yelling, telling Cornelius to put down the bag. Warmth trickles down my spine as I realize what I'm about to witness. Chaos explodes inside the dimly lit blood clinic. The deputies who enter look fresh off the academy stage, their shields untarnished by time, and their hair cut into military precision. I see the widening of their eyes, most likely never seeing a dead body before. Every hand vibrates with untested adrenaline as all 4 officers draw their weapons. I can't hear the commands over the roar of my blood. I didn't see the crime scene firsthand, but I saw enough in the eyes of the veteran officers to know it was abhorrent. Can't you stop this from happening? You got your blood. My officers didn't need to die. My Cornelius shakes his head, a flicker of emotion crossing through his ancient eyes. I almost miss it. Like blowing out a wick, the flame is there and then gone in an instant, only leaving the lingering smoke wisps as proof of his existence. Cornelius's face is resigned. He fluffs his sleeves, picking at invisible lint.
Unfortunately, they do, Alyssa.
His words are water, demolishing the gates. My head jerks at sudden movement. My deputies never had a chance. Past Cornelius drops his bag of blood, his serrated fangs slicing into the closest deputy before the bag hits the floor. Arterial blood sprays from the officer's neck, coating the ceiling and his stunned partner. The officer gurgles a scream, his body bucking in a feverish attempt to dislodge the vampire. His gun fires wildly inside the lobby, my body ducking instinctively, my right hand going to my empty hip. Past Cornelius rides the dying officer to the floor, a guttural sneer peeling his lips back as he takes in the others. His suit is no longer pristine, the deputy's blood is soaking deep into the expensive fabric. One of the deputies is smart enough to radio for backup. His lips fly over his shoulder walkie. I watch his mouth fumble over the code, but he doesn't stop screaming,
1299! 1299! Jesus fucking Christ! 1299!
The other deputy's guns fire, but not a single bullet lands. Past Cornelius moves like a shadow, dodging their efforts with laughable ease. He slides across the floor, his form erecting like a ghoul from a fresh grave. Elongated nails rip into the next deputy's stomach, unzipping the man like his favorite pair of jeans. His supernatural claws slicing through their Kevlar skin and bones to deposit the deputy's insides on the clinic floor. The officer paws at his escaping entrails as if he can gather them up and put them neatly back in place. My knees buckle, my Cornelius flashing to my side, a hand on my elbow. We both hit the tile floor, just as his past self digs into his next victim. Tears sting my eyes. My Cornelius wraps himself around my back like a tender lover. He swipes my hair to the side and begins to gently rock us. The juxtaposition to the carnage before me numbs my soul. My voice scratches as I watch past Cornelius laugh at the fleeting form of the last deputy. He pushes the hair out of his manic face, blood acting like hair gel, as he takes in his last prey. Why? He doesn't answer for a minute. Icy dead breath sighs against my skin when he finally answers.
What happens to a wild animal when it is caged for too long? It grows bored, biting the hand which feeds it. We are no different, Alyssa. A bored species with eternity plaguing our minds. I have seen many things, and I regret little. However, the catalyst of tonight's event will weigh on me until my final breath.
I don't understand. The last deputy has reached the front doors of the blood clinic. For a moment, delusional hope prickles my skin, until I remember the report stating 4 deputies lost their lives tonight. I turn my face, unable to handle any more gore. Cornelius rubs his cheek against my neck, the smell of death itching my nose.
I told you my business was in acquisitions. However, it is not all I do. Boredom perpetuates heinous acts, some of which my kind enjoys. Tonight, for a client, I ran a little game. Participants, like myself, were sent on little missions to complete for my client's amusement. Yes, I was meant to procure blood for my client. However, part of the game was to infiltrate a police station and kill the highest-ranking officer on duty. There is a cash prize, of course, but also a lucrative contract for blood supply for all of North America that I could not ignore. I wish you had let Detective Harris interview me. Because your future, it doesn't involve seeing Ben or Jerry.
The slice of cheese pizza I had for lunch slithers up my esophagus as tidal waves of nausea crash against my trembling stomach lining. The vision of the blood bank wavers, the old interrogation room blinking in and out of focus. Cornelius's arms don't leave my middle. Instead, he pulls me tighter, my body is slowly going limp in his arms. I want to scream, to fight back. But only a pathetic whimper leaves my lips. Cornelius pulls greedily at my neck while simultaneously caressing my cheek. My eyes flutter closed as a strange peace takes over my frame.
I am so sorry, Detective Alyssa Becker, but this will be your last interview.
This has been a Morbid Forest production, and on this week's episode, you've heard The Last Interview, written by Naomi Richards, with narration by Naomi Richards as Alyssa Becker, Shawn Moreau as John Harris, The Security Guard by Shawn Conkling-Methot, and our featured guest, Peter Lewis as Cornelius Buford. Our Oregon rookies are Havish Ravipati and Loggerhead, and reprising his role as Ranger Thompson, Ron Hyatt. Our theme music this season is The Shadows by Nandi Bushhill. Story editing and audio production by Naomi Richards. Music and sound effects provided by Epidemic Sound. You can follow us on Instagram, Blue Skies, Twitter, Tumblr, Discord, and Threads to stay up to date on all the happenings within the forest. Interested in more morsels of the forest? Then join our Patreon. As a faithful traveler, you'll receive exclusive access to ad-free early episode releases and bonus content for only $3 a month. That's patreon.com/themorbidforest. Love what you're hearing? Then leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Ratings and reviews help us reach more travelers out there, just like you. Interested in hearing your story on Season 6? Then send it over to themorbidforest@gmail.com. You can also check our website for our submission guidelines. We can't thank you enough for joining us for another season of The Morbid Forest. As we say all the time, we love doing the show and we do it for you guys. We appreciate every single listener out there, from our listeners in the US to our listeners in the UK, ones in Australia and New Zealand, and beyond through Europe and Asia. We love each and every one of you guys, and we appreciate you more than you even know. And now it's time for a bit of rest. But don't worry, we'll be back for season 6. And with that, we'll see you next time, travelers, on The Morbid Forest.